This conference will now be recorded.
So today we will be seeing collections in Python. So what is collection? Collection is a kind of module, kind of subclasses which is there inside the Python. So we have already seen the basic types, data types like dictionary, list, set, tuple, something like that. So now we will see collection modules provide what collection module provide. This is the first thing we are going to see in collection module is counter. So counter is a dictionary subclass. We have a class called dictionary, which is a data type. So there is some subclass called counter, and it helps to count hashable objects. So if you are familiar with other programming languages, it's called hash there, hash map. Here it is called dictionary. The name differs, but how it functions are similar. Okay. So what we have inside a dictionary, we have key and value, right? So let's directly jump into the example so that you will understand more. So since counter is an subclass, I have to import it. It's inside collection. Okay, so collection is kind of a module. Inside that we have a code for counter. So I'm just telling that from collections import counter. So now my counter is imported. And now I'll create a list. So this is my list. It has multiple numeric items inside it. So now, after creating a list, I'm just calling this counter class, and then I'm giving list. So this is my list. I'm just passing the list as a parameter inside counter class, and then so it is telling for one, it occurred 6 times, and similarly, 223 is occurred only one time, and 21 occurred only one time. 32 occurred only one time. These are one, but three occurred 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and here we have fourth 3. So it is going to tell how many times each element has appeared inside the list, a duplicate kind of item. So using set, if you have a list with duplicate item, you can remove the duplicate item by using set. We have seen this earlier. But here, if you want to understand how many times each item, each duplicate occurred in particular list, then you have to go for counter. If there is any question to know that how many times one has appeared, how many times, or list me the objects, list me the items which appeared more than twice, something like that. If you get a question, then you have to implement counter to get output. Similarly, let's see counter with strings. So I'll just directly put a string inside counter, and then it is going to tell me how many times each character has appeared inside this given string. So now we will see the counter of a word in a sentence. So here it is a character inside a word, but now we will see how many times a word has occurred inside a sentence. So let's assume this is a word I have sentence I have, which has multiple word inside it. I can directly go and give counter.word. Let me first run this. So I can give counted outward, but there will be a confusion, little confusion for the counter. So it couldn't understand. Oh, it is okay. So it is going to give me like this: each character, how many times each character, how many times space has occurred. But I'm looking for word. So what do I do if I have to have a list of word? I can go for split. So what will happen if you split a sentence? It will give you a list of each word separately. So let's see what is there inside words. So when I split this, when I take a sentence and split, I'll be getting each word inside a sentence in a as a separate item inside a list. So we have a list as an output. It has multiple words, all the words inside a sentence. They are considered as a different elements of a list. So now I'll take this words and I'll put it here and let me run. Now you will see the counter is giving me the number of occurrences of each word in a sentence. I have one interesting method inside counter. So I'm just taking the counter of words and I'm putting it inside pasting, I'm saving this output inside a variable called C. Then later what I'm doing, I'm calling a method called most common. So this is a method and I'm just giving two inside it. So I'm telling, give me the top two elements of which is repeated. So it is ordering. You see, the counter is always giving us in a ascending order based on the number of occurrences it has. So the output is kind of a dictionary key and then value. Key is always your word or character, and value will always be a numeric value, which tells how many times each item reappeared. So it is giving me in a sorted order, and I'm just telling, give me the top most common. So these two are the top most common. If I give four top most four items, it is going to give me in the order. So let's see few more methods. Now the C is, let me comment this out. Okay, this is C, right? Whatever the counter of words we have got, we have saved into a variable called C here. So C is nothing but a dictionary, right? We have a dictionary. It has multiple elements inside it and a key and a value. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to called c dot item, my dictionary dot items. You remember the items in dictionary? So I'm going to call that and it is going to give me all the items and I can do c dot values and it is going to give me the value, just the value of each word. So it is giving me value of each word and I can then do a sum on that. So if you wanted to know a number of sorry, okay. So if I wanted to know number of words appeared, number of words the sentence has, then I can get the values and then I can sum it up, right? So it is giving me 16. So this sentence S has 16 words inside it. Some of them has, uh, some of them are reappeared. Some of them are duplicated and appeared again, some words, right? And I want to convert the C to a list. So now I have a list, because if you want to pop or append something to a list, then you can't, it would be easy with list. So I'm just converting my dictionary into a list. Now the value has gone, only the items key are present inside my list. I'll then later convert it into a set. Here I'm removing all the duplicate items. So if they give you a sentence and ask you to remove the duplicate item, you know what to do, right? You can split, and when you split, you will have a list, and then you can convert it into a set. So again, I'm converting the set into a dictionary. I'm just calling dictionary of C, and now I'm going to call something called list of page. So again, I'll be getting, after converting it into a dictionary, again I'm going back to that counter. So here I'm just showing how what all I can do with when a sentence is given. I can convert it into a dictionary, list, set. If you use counter, obviously your output will be in the form of dictionary. Then on counter you can get item, value, sum. And I want to see the most common again. So here is my most common. It is going to give me a tuple kind of thing. Then what I'll do, I'll I want the least common item. It is always ordered in the form in the most common, right? If I give most common, it is always giving me the word which has appeared highest number of times, right? So I want least common. So what I'll do, I'll just, because since it is in ascending order, I want to reverse the order, which will give me a least common item, right? And so I'm just using this slicing function. Oh, what is this? Or I can just give this. So it is giving me in the least common way. Clear, guys? And till here, like what is counter and what we can do with counter. Is it clear?
Anu, the last one is reverse the order, right? It's
Yeah.
reversing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's printing from back, right?
Yeah. So if in question they ask you, give me a least number of items appeared in the list, which something like that, then you can go with this. You know a method called most common, then you can reverse it. So these are the possible question they might ask, like which word has appeared highest number of times and lowest number of times, all those things. Now we will see a new thing called default dictionary. So default, now we will see default dictionary. So default dictionary is similar to dictionary objects only, which provides all the methods we have with dictionary. But as I mentioned in the statement, it takes the first argument default factory as a default data type of a dictionary. So here it is a little faster when you use default dictionary. Let's right away. And one more thing, why we usually go for default dictionary is this: it never raises a key error. If any key does not exist, it's get the value returned by the default factory, the default whatever is there inside the default. If I show you an example, you might be able to understand. So it's again inside collection. Today, yeah, we will be seeing all the important classes or methods inside collection. So this is the second item is default dictionary. I'm importing them. First, let me create a dictionary, empty one. So here, if I add an item to the dictionary D, it is giving me key error, right? So let me do one thing. Because I haven't given it in the key value pair. So now I am creating a default dictionary object. Here I just created a dictionary, but here I am trying to create a default dictionary. And now let me create the same object. So now my object got created. I didn't see any key value error. And let me print all the items inside my dictionary. So I'm going for a for loop and I'm printing each item because I don't have, yeah, so this is the first item I have, right? Let me print it out. And I also gave default value. So if I'm telling that, I'm telling the system, see, take a 0 as a default value. If there is no value given, by default consider it as 0. Something like that I'm telling. So it's kind of like you're filling out a form, and there is a column called nationality. So like I'm just telling, usually whatever the person gives, that consider it as their nationality. If they don't fill that column, consider, for example, if it is happening over America, consider them as an American. If they don't go and fill it out, give any specific country, then they are Americans. If they are from different country, they are going to give like India, Singapore, something like that. Otherwise, consider them some default value. So if it is they are not giving anything, then consider this as a default. That's what I'm trying to tell the system, so that I'll not face this key value error. So now since I've given 0 as a default, I'm just asking, see, 1 is my key. What is the value of it? It is giving me 0 because if nothing is there, I haven't given the value while creating a dictionary. I just given the key. Usually item, when you print item in a dictionary, it will give you key value, key colon value. Since I don't have value, it is not giving me any value here. But still, since I have mentioned 0 as default, when I call this item, it is giving me 0. So before this, maybe I'll, okay, since this default, I don't know how to remove that default I have set. I should have showed before setting in the default. Maybe you can try, you can create a dictionary, default dictionary without any value inside it. When you print D1, it is going to give you a different output. Now it is giving me a different output. So when I wanted to create a dictionary, for example, we have seen a card game where I'll be creating a list and I'll have all the cards thrown by the user and the computer. At some case, some card is not dropped. I'll get a while playing that game, while running that program, I'll get a error and then it will be abruptly stopped. So in some situation where I have a dictionary and sometimes the user might not give value, if I expect that from user, and I don't want if there is no value, then there will be an error. There is no key, then there will be an error. But I don't want to have that error because it is expected that sometimes the user might not give the value or key. Then I go for this default. I create it as a default dictionary, even though there is nothing given by the user. Consider this as a default value, something like that. So this is when default dictionary comes handy.
Why we are giving this lambda inside default dictionary?
So this is kind of mm, kind of a syntax, but when you remember, let me go. You remember why we had this lambda function? If I wanted to create a Okay, so if I wanted to create a anonymous function, I don't want to give any name to it, and but I want to give a function kind of thing. For here, I'm just giving num is equal to, I'm just squaring the given number and saving inside num. But if I don't have this lambda expression, I have to do in this way, correct? And then call this something like that. So to make it simpler, for all whenever you have a simple function, in that case you can go for lambda. If it is a very complex function, you cannot do that with over lambda. Similarly, I'm making use of lambda here. I'm just telling make it as a zero, but this is how the default dictionary works. It's a syntax for that.
Okay.
So the regular expression, the collection, these are like small topics. It doesn't carry much weightage, but they are like good to know. Without regular expression, also I can do some basic searching, but still, when I have that, it will increase my performance. It will reduce the number of lines I write. So similarly, so something like that, the collection, whatever we see in the next few classes are like not very important. They are like good to know, will help you in some situations. They are not like the main building block of Python. So named tuple. Now we will see what is named tuple. In the normal tuple, the standard tuple, you use numeric index to access a member of the tuple. So here it's called named tuple. Let me show you one example. So let's consider this, and I wanted to access a object. How do I access? I access using index, right? So zeroth index, what is the zeroth index of tuple is 12. For a simple use case, this is usually enough. On the other hand, remembering which index should be used for each value can lead to error. I cannot remember my complete tuple and I can go and give index if at all I want to access some value. Especially this will be complicated if I have lots of field inside it. And with named tuple, you have a name instead of a numerical index. Okay, so to have a named tuple, like instead of giving an index, if I want to give some name to it, then I have to go with named tuple function, this function. Um, let's see a basic example of that. So I'm similarly, since that is inside the collection, I'm just importing from collection, I'm importing the named tuple. Here I'm creating a dog. I'm just passing additional function name called named tuple. So I'm just telling for dog age, breed, and name. And this is my first value. My second item. So how do we construct the name tuple is by first passing the object name. So first I'm telling the object name. See, this belong to this object called dog, and that object has three characteristics, and let me give the value of those three characteristics. So this is one, and this is the second object. Object constructed from the dog. So now let me call this. If I call Sam, it is going to give me the complete detail of it. If I want only the specific value of it, I can give sam.h. So here, I need not remember my index. I can directly go and refer it by name. If you have some program where you have to give a name and you have to access it later, then this is a way to do it. I can give. So usually how do we create a tuple? I can give Frank is equal to 2 comma Shepherd comma Frankie. So if I have to access the age, I have to give Frank dot 0 or Frank dot 1 to get the breed name. But here I'm just instead of giving I have to remember that the zeroth index is age, the first index is name, the breed, the third index is the name. So instead of remembering that, I can directly give age, breed, name because I remember that better, right? It makes sense. What is it? If I can remember the word called age, breed, and name. But still, you can go and access it by index if you want to get by index. So here the age is 2, so it is returning me. But if I feel that giving a name is convenient in some cases, then I can go ahead and first I have to create a named tuple called dog, and with that I here define what is the object name that's called dog, and using that I will be creating a tuple later, and what all the indexes I have. These are the three index I have, and for which the user will give value. So usually I can directly give 2 comma lab comma Sammy, but here I'm just adding the value to it. I'm assigning a name for each index. Zeroth index, I'm giving age so that I can access it in a more efficient way later in my program. Is it clear? Maybe you would have forgot how did we create tuple and all those things. What you can do if you have any confusion, you can just go and refer how we normally created a tuple and how we access that tuple, what all we did. So this is how we usually create a tuple and then access it by the index. But here I'm doing it in a slightly different way, which will be easy for me to access that tuple values inside the tuple in my program.
Anu,
Mm-hmm.
mm, here we have given like dog and some age breed name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the next line, you have given Sam is equal to dog. You have created the object, and we are giving all those things again. Is it
Mm-hmm.
possible like we can directly give the values to comma lab comma Sammy, or we
Yeah,
should
we can. We
give,
can.
and when we give Sam dot age, we will be getting two,
Yeah, let's
or is
try
it
that.
compulsory to give the things?
So without mentioning it here, age, breed, and name, I can still give because I've already defined everything. So just for example, I have given all these things inside so that you will understand. But without giving anything, you can directly create a tuple. But just you have to use a named tuple object name. Otherwise, it will create a normal tuple. So only the thing is, I'm creating an object beforehand, and referring that object here. So now each value will be associated, each index, the zeroth index will be associated to age and the breed and the name, and later you can access it. Here you see for Tom, I haven't given. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So let me save this and I'll create a new page. So let's see date time in Python. So this is all about collection. The most three commonly used things in collection. There are multiple other classes also in collection. You can go and refer in Python doc what all there, and if it will be really useful for you. So whatever we saw today was counter, which is kind of a dictionary, and then we saw one over tuple, which is called name tuple, and we also saw default dictionary, where this is to avoid the key error. So now let's see date time module, which is very handy if at all you have to create a you want to create a date and time in your program. Like if you want to access the current time whenever the user runs the program, the current time of that particular user when he is running, if you want to access it, all those things we will see in daytime module. There are two things. One is daytime, the other is time. Let's see that. So here, why we have daytime is it is to daytime module is very help to deal with all the timestamps in your code, and time values are represented with time class, and time has times. Times is a module. It has four attributes. One is hour, minute, second, and microsecond. These are the four attributes it has, and they can also include time zone information. And the arguments are optional, but the default of is zero. I mean, if I give it in a sentence format, then it will be very hard for you to understand. Let me show some example. So this is how it is. Inside the datetime, there is something called time, and it has four parameter: hour, minute, second, and microsecond. So to use, since it is a module, it is already predefined inside some folder inside a Python. You have to import them to use it, right? I'm just importing datetime. So it is not in the whole module name is only daytime, so I'm directly importing it. It's not a subfolder as in collection. We had a few subfolder inside collection. Inside collection, something called counter and named tuple and default dictionary. So I imported them because we were this counter is a subfolder of collection. So I'm just importing the main folder, then the subfolder. Here it is a directly a main folder. So I'm just directly giving input, and so I just wanted to use this method datetime dot time. Inside datetime there is some function called time. I want to use it. Let me try to use it. So I'll show all the different components here. So initially I'm defining hour is 4, minute is 20, and second is 1. I am not giving microsecond. As I have said, some values, I mean, the values are optional. All the values are optional, and when you opt for this, I mean, since it is optional, you can ignore. You need not give it. It is not going through any error. But still, when you access it, it will show a default value as 0. Since you are not giving any value, then the 0 as taken as a default value. By default it prints 0. So let me print t, and it is giving me in this format: hour, minute, and second. I want only access the hour, then I can go like this: hour is t dot hour. Similarly, t dot minute and second. And if I wanted to know the time zone, I can give. Since I have not given any time zone specifically, it is giving me none. See, here we have seen, the thing is, here we have a minute, second, and millisecond, microsecond, but we don't have any date. We don't have any month or year or date, right? So the time will hold only the time format, not the date associated with that particular time. A date we will see later, but a few other things I want to show inside the time are these three methods. One is min, max, and resolution. So this is my module name, and this is my function time, and it has a sub function called minute, max, and minimum, maximum, and resolution. You will see three outputs since I have three print statement here. The minimum is this. So this is when the time starts. This is a minimum time. This is a maximum. After that, it changes to 24 hours, which is after that it will again start the reset the counter to 00, right? And the resolution is this. This is how the format is. Hour, minute, second, and millisecond, and it can have 6 digit in microsecond. So these are the valid time range. The day starts with this value and then it's end with this value. You cannot go beyond this value like 23:59 dot. Here you can't give something else. It will automatically, when it reaches 24, automatically it goes to this. You cannot give 24.1 or something. If you want to represent the 12.1, you can't do that. It should start with this. So this is a range, minimum and maximum range. Inside that time, anyone can define in a program, right? It starts at 12 a.m., which is nothing but this. You cannot give 12. I mean, the 12 a.m. is represented as this, and then it ends around 11:59 p.m. The day ends at 11:59 p.m. So that's what I have given here. After 11:59, it again, if you add 1 minute, it will go to 12 a.m., which has to be represented in this way if it is in a 24 format, right? Now let's see dates. So here we have seen something called time. Inside daytime, you have a sub function called time. So daytime, how do you access the daytime dot time? Inside this code, there is some function called time. You access with this. Similarly, here it is date. So I'm just give me daytime dot date, and inside there is something called today. Like how minimum is there inside time, today is going to give me the current date. So the current date is this, my current date, and then I have something called C time, current time. It is going to give me my current time, which is which is not giving me, which usually gives a minimum time of the particular date. And then I have something called time tuple. It is going to give me like what is a year and what is a month, what is a day, something like that. So here you can see output. It is giving me in this way. This is how it gives what is a year, what is a month, 11th month, and this is a date. And it is going to give me the minimum default value only, the minimum default time. So it is also giving me ordinal. Ordinal is something like there is a counter, and usually every program language has this. So inside that counter, each hour it starts from 1990, I believe. I don't exactly remember the year. From 1990, the first hour is one, second hour is two, something like that. The next day is again 25, the next day 12 a.m. is 25, 26. It goes on like that. The current hour is this. From that particular 1990 or something, the current hour is this. They actually use these in some data science things for calculation, all those things. I never use this. I know this is there. I never use this. So I can get the year, month, and days like this. So these are the methods of today. Usually we don't use the C time and tuple also. I'm just showing that they are available even the ordinal. I just print today. I can access today. That is very useful, and I can access the year, month, and day separately also. Since we have the earliest date, I mean the early minimum time, maximum time, we also have like minimum date and the maximum date. So this is the earliest date that started, and the earliest year the latest year what we can have at max is this, and resolution is just one day. It is going to give me the date. Time is going to give me the current day only. It cannot handle two different days, and this is the earliest time it can have. So if I have some particular day, I'm creating a variable called d1, which has date, and this is the date I'm passing, which is year, month. It is always year, month, and day. Okay. So it is how it looks, and I'll replace only the year. I want to change the year of this D1. So I'm creating something called D2. And here I'm telling replace the year to 1990. Okay. Then let's try to print the D2. So here you see the only the year alone got changed. So I can modify just the date, only the month, something like that. So for example, I'm giving a range expiry date for something. So I'll from the date, current date the user had purchased. So I'm telling the expiry date, the expiry, I mean the return, the sorry, the possible date, the maximum date to return this particular object is 14 days from the current purchase. So the current date will be today, and then I'm just changing the return expiry policy on 14th from this date. So I'll just replace the only the day. I'll have the same D1. I'll have a new variable called D2, which will have the return expiry date, where I'll just replace a just the day. I'll add 14 to the current day and I'll put it inside that, so that this D2 will have the expiry day. So whenever the user tries to return, it will see whether it is beyond the expiry date. If it is beyond the expiry date, it is going to throw an error. You cannot, the return policy as expired, as it is beyond 14 days. Otherwise, it is going to let the user to create a refund or return process. It proceed like that. So you can access I'm just giving you an example like how you can access and modify date, where the situation where you have to access and where you have to increment and modify the date. And I can also do a time difference arithmetic inside day, which would be very handy to find the difference, how many days are there between two different date. Okay. For example, we already have D1 and D2, right? We have D1 and D2. So D1 is nothing but 2015 and D2 is nothing but 1990. And I can give D1 minus D2. It is going to give me how many days are there between these two D1 and D2. It gives us a difference in days between two dates. So this is how you can work with timestamp in your code if you want to access the current date or increment the date or set a new date. This is how, or find the difference between two different days. How many hours are there between them? This is how you do. This is all you have to know about time date module. Actually, let's see a new topic tomorrow. Uh, Let me send this out. Collection and date time, right?